Bonjour, merci d'être là. Et surtout, merci Ernesto. Je pense que c'est vraiment une chance pour l'école et pour nous tous de pouvoir recevoir, rencontrer et écouter Ernesto. Et vous pouvez interrompre la conférence comme vous voulez, mais il faut que vous parliez dans un micro parce que c'est enregistré pour ceux qui n'ont pas la chance d'être là. Et voilà, et c'est en anglais. Ernesto, il comprend bien le français, donc vous pouvez lui parler en français. Et si vous ne comprenez pas bien l'anglais, on peut faire aussi des interruptions pour essayer de traduire. Voilà, merci Ernesto.
Merci à toi. C'est bon? It's okay, the audio for you? Sorry, I would like to do it in French, really, but I can't. There is no way. I can do it in Creole, but it's not good for this topic. I will speak in English. I will try to do it slowly. It's a little bit Creole because my English is not so good even, but I say to Nathanael that we can interrupt when you want, and he can help me to translation if you need, okay? Feel free to say, okay, I want to ask something, don't hesitate, okay? Then thank you for coming today. I'm very happy to be here and very happy to be with you because you decide to come and to be here today and to talk with me, and this made me very happy. I'm Cuban and designer. Okay, I don't like to put kind of limits to my practice, but I did a school of design in Cuba. First, graphic design, second, industrial design. I did 2 careers because I was in love with graphic design, but I had a very good teacher of history of design. I was telling to Indiana today, and she really put me in love with the history of industrial design. Then I decided to do the other career too. And I finished the school in 1993. And Cuba was in this moment suffering a very important deep economic crisis. Soviet Union disappeared in 1991. They just separated in 1991, and Cuba had very close economic relationship with Russia and Soviet Union in this period. Then you can imagine that in 6 months we lost everything, everything. We lost, for example, there is no more petroleum coming from Soviet Union, and there is no electricity anymore, no transportation, nothing. In 6 months, the life of the Cuban changed radically. And if you have something broken, you can't replace it because the shops was closed. Everything was closed. We lost the 80% of our economical change, trading. We lost in 6 months. You can imagine your kid coming to your house to him, yes? 1991. The Soviet Union disappeared in 1991. The Berlin Wall, for example, was in 1989. And this process started at the end of the 80s, but really in 1991, Soviet Union disappeared, and nobody was deciding, okay, we need to keep the economical transaction with Cuba. Every state separate, and they stop every transaction. Then we lost everything. In 6 months, totally the city changed for many factors. I will explain you later why. Then I was educated as industrial designer. I was ready, like you maybe, to go to industry, and there is no industry anymore. There is nothing to produce. But still I have this impulse inside me and the love in the history of design. Then the title of this talk today is Anyone Can Design, Even Designers. It's a provocation to talk. We will talk about that during all the talk or the presentation, but the first part we can give that for sure. Anyone can design. I was never a designer, and sometimes I design something, but I was a kid without any vocation. I know how to make drawings, but I prefer to be in my neighborhood, walking and playing, doing things. I was never imagine my life working or doing something. I don't have any vocation. Then one day, because my father pushed me and say, okay, you need to do something, You know how to make drawings, maybe you like this school. And he really, literally, he put me in the school. And I went there, and I now in love with design. But anyone can do design. Everywhere around the world, people are designing. In the history, we have it's full of that. We are right today here because we have this capacity in the humans being. But when I say even designers, I'm trying to remember that normally we are trying to trap design inside a lot of rules, a lot of limitation, a lot of carré, you say in French. We are trying to push design, the practice of design, inside many limitations. When you bring this conversation inside even the academic world, this can become worse because you are putting many normative to produce tests, to produce reflection. That is the idea of the design is a discipline. I never use discipline in connection with design. I say design is a practice. Then I think we need to start thinking out of these limits that we are accepting for design. And it's more a conversation about social division of the world. I can do many other things. In Cuba, I helped my cousin, my primo, my cousin, you say in French, to make the roof of the house. It's very common that people is doing many other things at the same time. Then this is about that. It's about the border of the practice, how we can jump to a place to the other one. Then I will present today to you. It's okay, the English for the moment? Fine? Yeah? Thank you. Then this is what is design research for me. I was a designer, as I told you before, trying to do, I was dreaming to be a Cuban Andrea Branci, Cuban Ettore Soxas. This was I want to produce Cuban objects. This is a dream of every designer has in his mind, to produce something that is a good correspondence to the context that you are living. Then I was designing every day a lot of chairs, tables, lamps, radios. This is the typology of the object designers normally confronting, trying to do. And I was doing that in the 90s. Every day between 7 and 11, I sit in the table and try to do a new sketch. And I was doing that for days after days, all the time. This was my passion. And the life around me was totally bad. Because I'm talking about 1994. I finished the school in 1993. I started doing this drawing in 1993, 1994, every day. And one day my mother-in-law arrived to the same table that I was, and she put a fan, broken fan, in the table. And she was not paying attention to me. She don't care about me. She was really mad with the broken fan. In Cuba, you have 35 degrees all the year. Temperature is really high. Then a fan is your friend. It's part of the family. And if it's broken, you will be like a family is dying. It's really something that you need to have 24 hours of the day. You have a fan working everywhere, in the room, everywhere. Then when the fan is broken, it's really impacting the life of the family. And she was really mad with the object, and she started fixing the artifacts. She started opening in the back, and I was maybe normally as a designer, as an artist, the family is the first wall that we crash. Your mom say, what you are doing? I don't understand what you are doing. No, this happened to everybody. It's not only me, I suppose. That the family say, no, they don't understand what you are doing. They don't understand your ideas. They don't understand. This is the first confrontation that we had. And I was very solid. I don't care. I'm doing my drawings every day, even when to be sitting in the chair could be like I'm not working. But it's my work. Then I never have this shame. But this day I incorporate and I start working with her in the fan. I did that. And this happened many times. And at some point I understood that my practice was totally fragmented. For one side, I was dreaming to be a Cuban radical designer, like Soxas in Italy or Branci. And for the other side, I was participating in the activity of the family, confronting the real needs of the family. And I was doing that totally divide, two persons, not connecting the both things. Like you can separate this life, you have this double life, it's not possible. Then step by step, I understood that I need to put both things in the same axis. And I stopped to make drawings of chairs that nobody asked me, never. I was doing that because I want to do it. I imagine that I know that you can connect the seat back, the seat and the legs. There is 7 possibilities. There is no more. And I learned that in this period. We can dream in that we can create a new chair. Of course, new technology can allow you to do something else maybe. That happened in the history of design with the Seska chair, with the Marstam, or sometimes you have a new transformation because technology is coming to alter the form. But we have 7 possibilities. But for why I was doing that? For nothing. For the other side, I was doing a bench for my family. I put, we have parties in the house, and I put 2 chairs like that, and I put a piece of wood. Between them, I made a bench for the family. But everybody in Cuba was doing that, in the corner, everywhere. Then the first thing that I learned was, was not looking anymore for a new idea. I don't want to have an idea nobody have. I was accepting my reality and trying to confronting my needs, the needs of the family. Pardon. Then I moved, and I stopped to do these drawings, and I decided to pay attention to what happened in my house in this moment, and I started doing drawings, collecting ideas, watching my mother-in-law. She was really the radical designer. I never told her, because normally you have a fight with your mother-in-law, but I never say to her, thank you. But she was really the radical designer in this house. And she affected me a lot. My practice changed totally in this conversation with her in some way. And then I stopped to do drawings, and I started doing research in some way, documenting what happened around my house, the neighbors, the neighborhood around, and years later I walked all Cuba. And I was really walking all Cuba, traveling a lot, talking with people, doing drawings. I don't have any photographic cam in this period in Cuba. Then sometimes when you have a photo of an object, it's something that I collect, and I did a photo many years later, because in this period I don't have any photographic cam. Now I have friends coming from France, normally, and designers from Les Ateliers that traveled to Cuba in the 90s, and I met them, many of them. And when they was there, they allowed me to use the cam of them. I did some photos in this period too. After that, of course, I found a cam, I produced more documentation, but normally I found something, and I go back to this place 5 years later to do the photo, because I had only the drawings that I did 5 years ago. Then I start collecting, talking with people, and talking about the needs, about the character of these drawings. Then this is a new book that you can look everywhere. I think it's 2018 is the year, and 6th, say. And it's a description about what is anarchist ethnography, and for me fit very well with the idea of what could be the role of designer today in society. Design research can have the same kind of parallel, the reflex of this ethnography approach. You are learning for others. You are learning that other people can be doing the things better than you. This is one thing that you need to learn. I learned that there is people around doing the things better than me, and I can help to be a vector of this solution, to do research about what they are doing, and to try to communicate this idea with others. This is a practice that designers need to improve more. This is my perception. Then I will talk today about 4 projects. In different ways, you will see the material that I was documenting, researching the subject of my research, but you will find sometimes some kind of methodologies, displays, and ideas that I was looking for every time. And I will start with technological disobedience. It's a concept that I developed in 2003, but it's based in my research that I start writing about object of necessity in 1993. This is the first concept that I started using, object of necessity. And technological disobedience is just a new name of this project, and I will explain you why I use it. And in 1991, because the government knows that the economic crisis will be really bad, they produced a compilation of ideas using many magazines that you can find in Latin America, in Spanish, with ideas about how to make alternative process of alimentation, of cooking, or harvesting, or growing plants in your garden, helping having animals, or repairing things like cars, artifacts, fans, many things. This was the first compilation, and it's based on Popular Mechanics. Popular Mechanics is an American journal that is translated in Latin America and Mexico and distributed in all Latin America with the name Mecánica Popular. And this journal is full of ideas. I think you have here System D or System C? System D. C, no? And D? Okay. This is the same. The government decided to make this compilation, this editorial. They produced the book, and they gave the book to the soldiers, to the militaries, and the militaries went to the family and gave the information to the neighbors, and everybody have the information about that. In the period of 1 year, Cubans start sending to this editorial house, Verde Olivo, ideas that they had confronting needs during this year. Real needs, real solution, using the tools that we have in Cuba in this moment, the material that we have in Cuba in this moment, and somebody in this editorial house have the good, we say in Spanish, a good buen tino, I don't know how to say, it's a good decision to say, okay, maybe we can publish a second book with this information. This is the book. The first book is nothing. Sometimes you have solution here that there is no way that you can produce it because you don't have the tools. The second book is based on our real tools, our real materials, and our real needs. And they print it and they publish again 1 year later, and this book circulate. Online you can find the PDF of these both books, and you can download. And even the second one is translated to French, because I did a workshop in Brussels with a student of architecture of school, and they translate the second book. Then the second book is really the first compilation of ideas about how Cubans confront the economic crisis of the 90s. You can find crazy ideas sometimes. You will see a fantastic idea, how to bring light from one point to the other one, for example, or how to produce, for example, it's a very interesting project because people keep the names of the thing. They say, I want to eat beefsteak. I don't know how to cook beef, but there is no more meat. They use grapefruit, and they call a stick of this. They put onions. They try to process in the same way that they was cooking meat, but it's nothing. Of course, now there is a lot of vegetarian people eating that. But Cuba didn't, in this moment, to confront. They want to keep their life in the same condition that they had before the economic crisis. This is an impulse that everybody had in this period. They want to recuperate all the time, every day, the life that they lost because of the economic crisis. When the economic crisis started, the government don't have any solution. The book was one of the reaction of the government. The second reaction was they removed the inspectors of the city. Don't pay attention. Don't look. You have a look to the emptiness. Don't put fines. Don't correct everything. And people start creating things everywhere. And people occupy even the shop windows, the shops, to start selling products created by them in the house. We are talking about a production create inside the house of the family. This was all the family implicated in this production. Objects for many things. This is of course, this is a shaver. Rasurator, you say? This that. Totally, the first reaction of the people was trusting, okay, the crisis will be ephemeral. It's only for maybe next week. We have a new recuperation friend. We have some money, and our life will change. Then many objects have this provisoire character. They were dreaming to separate against the part and to recuperate the life. And it's the reason because sometimes you see something just put together really easy way, and the appearance really common or really easy to produce. But you have, for example, this to heat water. made by the people. This is an idea that you can find in Popular Mechanic, many journals around the world, how to do that. It's by electric shortcut. You can heat the water. And the shaver, this is a sonnet for the bike. The object in the center is a television antenna. And this is interesting because it's an object that talks about how Cubans confront, when the economic crisis started, the only piece of metal that you can find in all the country was this plate. Because this plate was everywhere in the schools. And, so it's me? Sorry. Okay. It's happening several times because sometimes it's the first time? It was the first time. Okay. Maybe it was my belly. Then the plate is everywhere. The telephone is there, no? Because I was alert to be far of the telephone, but it's okay. And I learned something in this moment that, no, it's happening all the time, no? No? Is it my mind now? Eh? Okay. The plate was in every factory, every school. We use it everywhere. It's the common plate, and it's a standard, and it's produced massively in the country. And people start using that to replace the television antenna. This happened the same time everywhere. There is no a designer with a good idea and people start copying him. No. People living in precarity, people living in needs, when they have a few resources, everybody will find the same idea. This is very common. I found that in Cuba many times. Same idea, two people in two different parts of the country, the same solution. And this happened with this antenna. Camagüey, for example, that is a big town in Cuba, in the east of the country. I found 2 or 3 antennas like this in every block. And every time I start documenting this, and I was trying to ask to the people, and nobody told me never, this is my idea. And this is general. Nobody in Cuba told me in 30 years of research, this is my idea. Nobody. About any idea. Nobody. Maybe designer in the school say, okay, this is because in Cuba we have a school of design. Maybe designer was telling that, or architects, But people never try to say, no, this is my idea, and this guy is copying me, or this person is copying me. It was common knowledge. And when you have, this is what happened when you have a standard material in this kind of context. When somebody found a solution, because you have the same material in your house, you can just copy it. And just reproduce the idea and do it. And everybody have the same object. People will be, the information will be really fast. The object is a vector to transmit this stuff. I arrive to your house, I found that you made a bottle or lamp using a bottle, and I have the same bottle in my house. I will go to my house and I will reproduce what you did. That is very common. And this happened in Cuba in this period a lot. You see, for example, in this case, it's the same antenna adapt to different conditions. You have wind, you need to make the holes to avoid the wind is destroying the antenna. And you have only one, you can just cut in the half, and you have the center in the top is only one, divide into parts. Everybody, everywhere was using the same artifact to produce the antenna. Then when the economic crisis started, Cubans has similar objects in the house. We have, every family have 2 kind of television. One is, both of them was Russian, but one was produced in Cuba, the other one was produced in Russia, and we have this. Every family have one of them, Green or Caribe. Everybody have the same kind of washing machine, 2 generations different, Aurica. Every people have one kind of refrigerator, Minsk, 2 different size. Of course, you have the small one, you don't have the big one, you have one of them. And everybody have one kind of fan, Orbita. Every family. Maybe somebody have something else because the family was traveling out and coming back with something different. But mainly everybody have the same kind of artifacts in the house. And everybody have the same kind of bottles. We have this Comecom system. It's a commercial institution, political too, organizing socialist countries in this period. And everybody has a factory of this bottle, every country. In Latin America was Cuba and Nicaragua, Angola in Africa, Vietnam in Asia, and in Europe was Poland, Germany, Bulgaria, everybody have the same factory. And for example, we was sending rum to Bulgaria or to Russia. Oh, in this bottle, and the first one in the right, and they was sending to us vodka in the same bottle. We was sending to them orange marmalade in the bottle in the center, and we receive peach or other kind of marmalade, you know. Then this was international trade of when the economic crisis started, Cuban was accumulating this bottle. My mother was keeping everything in the house. You open the closet and was full of things because she was not trusting too much in the government. Then she was keeping everything because maybe in some point I need this paper or I need this wire or this cord or I need something to do. Then we grow in this context of keeping things, and my mom was totally right. When the economic crisis started, she have many things to create things. Then people start using that. You see the medicine bottle, you said there has a lamp. If I go to your house and you have the same lamp, it's a kerosene lamp. You put kerosene and it's working, and I will copy you automatically. I will not hesitate to do it. And the lampshade, the tube, is made. There is a earthquake. The tube is a fluorescent lamp. It's one of the materials that people use a lot. They use the fluorescent tubes, they cut and they produce the lampshade for many things. But it's the same, the object became a vector. People know very well the size of this bottle. Every Cuban recognizes very well, and people know that this bottle can go inside this one. People know that, just because they recognize the size. You can put the bottle inside the other ones. And they start inventing these artifacts, having this knowledge in the mind. And for example, and the government too. The government was, because when we say Cuba government, we need to think that the people was working for the government. In Cuba in this period, there is nothing more. You only can work for the state. And the state was owner of everything. Everything. This was one of the big problems because they was out of capacity to produce anything anymore, and there is nothing in the market. Then people assume this productive activity during this period. And for example, this is a talco, I don't know how to call it, talc in French, using the PET bottle here. But the other one is solution with the PET bottle to make the hydraulic way to close the door. You open the door and automatically, because the heaviness of the bottle is coming down, you are closing the door. Then many solutions start because people recognize the material and everybody start elaborating these ideas. Then when the crisis starts, and all this production is based on this. All this production is based on this. We talked today about coordinate metrics. It's about that. This is somebody recognized. This guy recognized that the bottle of PET have the same size of the hole for the diffuser of the lights of the car. When the crisis started, there were thousands of Cubans with engineers career, because the access to the university was free and everybody wanted to be an engineer. There is a lot of people with a lot of knowledge about electronics, electricity, civil engineer, mechanic engineer. Everybody have knowledge, and this knowledge was put in this production. This is the first factor giving form to this production. The second one is everybody had in this moment the same kind of object. Material culture was really standard, and everybody shared. And then if you learn with them. Somebody found something, how to repair a television set, everybody will learn with that. If you learn how to make spare parts to repair a TV, people will learn with you. This was very common. And the third factor was that 90% of the population was living in the same condition. You can imagine that a doctor can do that. The same person that was maybe operating, doing surgery, somebody in the appendicitis in the hospital in the morning was doing the car at the end of the day. The same person. Only the people living in the near to the power, the militaries, was keeping the same life than before. The 90% of the population was living. The same lamps, you can find the same lamps in the very sophisticated bourgeois house in the center of Vedado that you can find in the kind of favela in my neighborhood in Lawton. The same object. Everybody was using the same object. Then imagine a doctor doing these kind of things, a teacher, a musician, Everybody. This knowledge is already there. This is something that is separating a little bit this production to Mexico or Brazil. In Brazil, you have the same thing, the same period, but there is no doctor in Brazil doing a kerosene lamp for illuminating the night. This is the one of the factor that is totally separate the life in Cuba in connection with other examples in Latin America. And the coordinate metrics is something that I like to, I all the time try to keep the conversation in connection with the history of design in Europe in general, and this is the history of design that we know a little bit. Pardon. Gibbon Sieb is a German designer that was educated in Ulm school. Ulm was the last moment of Bauhaus, or Max Bill liked to say that this was the last moment of Bauhaus. And they start design. They want to use design to transform the Ulm after the war, because it was a post-war period, and they were thinking that design and architecture and art could be the best way to integrate against society, because the Ulm city was totally divided by Nazi people and victims. Then they was looking a way to integrate the community again and to have a new conversation and to survive the economic crisis after the post-war. And they started to create some kind of standards or bringing some kind of conversation to the production there. And Gibbon Sieb produced this idea of the coordinate metrics. And he's asking he was teaching to students to create objects that you can have connection between the elements to produce something else, but without any direction. Just to has a possibility, just has a potentiality. The object can be connected and maybe you can do something else. Then Cubans did that in the other side just because they needed. Just because they needed. They connect parts, they ensemble, they reuse, they try to put many things talking together, objects that never are talking together and totally separate, like this one. They put it together because this needs and this approach to the production. This is a Russian TV reparate with the computer display. Normally the display was the size of the wood. All the screen was a big TV, but now they put this display from Olivetti, probably because Olivetti had Italians have a lot of connection with Cuba in the 80s, and they give a lot of technology and the computer, this kind of thing at the beginning, and this happened, no? And all these products normally are coming from the state, and not something that you can buy. In Cuba, there is no a market to buy tools. My hammer, the hammer in my house was the hammer of my grandfather, and everybody is keeping that. And when I was a kid, I was expert to put the nail straight again. I did my own toys and cars using the nail that I found in the street, and I know how to do it with a piece of stone. Then we learn how to recuperate material. There is no way to buy material. All this production is based on this thing that you can find in the house for the last 50, 60 years. Then this is the object I used to talk about object of necessity. And the other side you can have a Rickenbilly. I will talk about Rickenbilly later, but the object of necessity is a term that I used to explain. What happened in this moment was the designers, the artists, the intellectuals in general, the government was totally shameful. They was feeling bad because after 30 years of revolution, people was living the worst condition in the history. And they don't want to talk about that. They was trying to hide in some way this conversation. And automatically the impulse was to say, this is kitsch. This is kitsch, this is bad taste. This is made by people that don't know how to do the things beautiful, and they push the conversation as a problem of taste. They don't want to talk about real needs in this moment. No? Then I was mad in some way, and I need to have the conversation with my colleagues, with people, and they use the term quiche, or they use the term poor design to talk about this object or object povera, these kind of things, and. I was in need to have my own tools to think this process and to talk with others. I was a famous fighter with colleagues. I like to create this condition to talk and to discuss about that because for me it was very important. what these people was doing and teaching us as practitioners. And the object of necessity is an object that is a diagram that put in relations the needs of the individual and the resources that they have, legal, technological, material. The object is a sketch. You can understand, it's a relations of parts of information that you can recognize. There is nothing, and every time there is an effort to pay attention to the physical quality of the object. For example, this fan is a Soviet fan, it's the orbiter. And I met the guy in 1999, the guy that made these artifacts, and when I was walking in the street and I found the object in the window shop, he was using that for him because he was repairing shoes inside. And for me, it was a surprise. As an artist, you think, okay, Picabia, collage, there is many things that you can put in the history of art and converse. There is something of humor, could be a joke in some way. Then I arrived very happy to the place, and the guy was not understanding why I was laughing. For him, it was, don't understand, looking to me like that, no? And when I asked to him why he put the phone in the base, he told me the phone have the same form of the original base of the telephone. Then when the fan was broken, the base was destroyed, he remembered that he kept this telephone for many years in some place in the house. And he said, oh, automatically, pop. And he connect, and this is the same, the original base is similar. There's a prismatic form with this relationship. Of course, this thing is not working. Everybody asks me, is it working? No, it's not working. And there is a switch in this side. Here you see a small volume there, a small element. It's because the original switch of the interrupter of the fan, was normally here in the front. He put it there, the other side. And the blades are made with the LP of music. And he found this solution, and this is a solution that I found many times in Cuba later. Somebody copied the mold, or copied the system, and using hot water, you deform the vinyl, and you cut, and you produce the blade, and it's working perfectly. The center is just a rubber nucleus, and you put impression to the axis of the ventilator. The Rickenbilly is a bike that is illegal in Cuba. They put a different kind of engine. The engine are coming from fumigation device, mechanic saw, or water pump. There is mainly these three sources. This one specifically is made with the rotor. This engine is coming from the military tank, Russian military tank, the rotor of the canyon, for example. Then you can imagine how the things are moving to a part of the life to others, or the city to others. No? This is a Rickenbilly made with the rotor of the military tank. You can see ideas. When people start producing, they start with the small objects like this one, and they found a way to market that, to start selling that on the street. And when the idea of the marketing appeared, people start decorating the things. At the beginning, I was rejecting to collect and to document objects that have a decoration, because this conflict with the quiche and object of necessity, and I was avoiding to use that. And at some point, somebody told me, okay, Ernesto, but people need beauty too. Then I accept the reality, and I start incorporating this conversation too in my own research. This one, for example, is a mouse trap. It's an object to kill the rat, but it's decorated because there was already have a competition in the market between them, and then you are looking for the beautiful one and the strong one, the big one. The other one is an old guy that I found in Havana in 1998. Fidel Castro, to confront the transportation problem, asked to China to import many bikes, and people start using bike in Cuba a lot, everywhere. People that never before used a bike start using a bike in the 90s. Then you can imagine what happened in the city. There is no cars, but there is bike going to everywhere, any direction, every people with different age driving the bike. This person don't have any bike, was a very old guy. Then what he did was to found the really loud sonnet and put in the can, in the baton, to move in the city. I found him because I was in my bike and I found something really high near to me, and was the guy doing that. Then I talked with him and I did a photo. I was all the time interacting with people to make the things. The other object that arrived to Cuba in the 90s was the monoblock plastic chair. And automatically what happened in Cuba in this moment was the monoblock start becoming broken everywhere, because we know the monoblock is broken everywhere. And before this happened, there were a lot of metal chairs broken from the school. Everywhere you can find a structure, every corner, everywhere. When this chair appeared in Cuba in this moment, automatically both objects start connecting every place. Somebody doing mechanics on the street, you have a monoblock in the top of the metal chair. Somebody selling something in the corner, monoblock in the top. This object appear everywhere. Sometimes people go to very simple object like this one, and the other one in the left is a very complex idea. This guy is doing a charger for a non-rechargeable, I don't know how to say the word already, I forgot. It's a battery, a small battery that I use for the watch or for the heating device. This battery normally there is no way to recharge this battery. You need to put in the trash and you buy a new one. In Cuba, there is no battery in this moment to buy. And I have a friend, Enildo, that his wife was deaf and she need to have the device activate all the time. When the battery is low energy, low capacity, the device starts sounding. It's really disturbing for the people. Then you need to have a new battery almost all the time working good. This guy found a way to reanimate the battery. Then they put the battery here, the small battery, here in this point, and he put in the wall, and he produced a small chart that you can use the battery for 30 days again. Then it's a battery that is recharging, this artifact is recharging the battery that is designed to don't be recharged, never. Then this kind of thing happen there. People start creating these kind of artifacts just to confront the needs in different ways, and sometimes people start even doing something else. 1996, people start producing inside the house machines to injecting plastic. Inside the house. You arrive to the house and there is a machine to injecting plastic near to the sofa, and they are producing base in the morning, and in the afternoon when you finish the production, somebody's coming and putting flowers and portrait of the family in the top of the machine, because it's a house still. And you want your kid coming to the house, not to a cave or a workshop. Then this happened. People start learning how to inject plastic inside the house in the 90s and creating this machine and producing this object. Because there is no designers in this production, because this production was illegal in some way, and there is no designers in this conversation, they start just copying forms that we had in Cuba in this period. For example, the first glass in the top is a Russian glass, famous, Granjonka is the name, and Cubans copy in plastic. Just copy the same design. This glass disappeared because it's all the time coming down to the floor and it's broken, and they found a way to produce a copy that you will have forever, because it's plastic in this case. Sometimes they did this. This is the typology of object that you can find in the house of the people, and normally even you can have a cup coming from the toy system to the object of the house, to the kitchen or the gastronomy activity really. This was a cup with a toy here, and now people are using that to drink liquor or things like that, no? Or you can see in the other side, kind of hybrid process. Somebody learn how to cut the bottle of Coca-Cola, he decided to design the base, screw the base inside, and start selling that to the market. And I was following this guy for many years, talking with him, and I had the evolution of the piece because he was learning how to do it. At the beginning, the cup was a little bit unstable, and the plastic was too dry or was broken every time. And he found a good material, and he perfected the process, and he started selling this object there. And the solution in the right bottom is one of example of the people having the same idea. Complex. This is a complex idea. If you can understand the form, it's a bottle that somebody cut in some way and remove and articulate and to make the handle of the jar. You see, the same material. There is nothing. It's just cutting the bottle and just putting in this way to produce the handle of this. I found that in Santiago de Cuba. Was a teacher, old lady, using that to put water in the plants. And when I found that in Santiago, I remember that I saw this object before. I had some kind of Okay, I saw that, and was my neighbor, but I never recognized totally the object from my patio, from my terrace. I saw his patio, and this object was there. He did the same design, same material. It's the bottle of detergent that we have there, and he used this bottle to make the jar. The same thing, to put water in Cuba is a problem, the water too, and you need to be accumulating water everywhere because if you don't have electricity, you don't have way to put the water in the house. For many factors, the manipulation of water is very giving a lot of activity to there. But these people are right to the same solution, and having all the island in the middle between them. Medardo was a teacher too in Havana, and this lady was in Santiago de Cuba, in the opposite of the country, and having the same solution, for example. Then, because I don't have any photographic cam, I told you before, I was still having the wish to have photos. And when I was traveling in Cuba, as a designer, I was aware that I was doing documentation and I was writing. Then I was start thinking about my own practice a little bit, about the history of this practice, the history of documentation, the history of writing in design. And I was trying to be aware about what I was doing in this moment. Then these are visa photos, small photos. It's like visa. Because I don't have any cam, and I found in the city several towns people doing photos for others in the house. They have a chair and they have a blanket, sábana, I don't know how to say in French, I forgot. Yeah, in the background, and you sit and they are doing the photo of your face for the passport or for visa or for ID documents. Then I start talking with these people and I say, can I do some photo with you here? Then I brought, at the beginning, every of them asking me, why? What are you doing? Why this ugly object, you know? And I put the objects in the chair and he did the photo, or her, and she did the photo, and they every time told me the same. They never changed the protocol. They was giving me 3 photos, like the state is asking you for 3 photos, and she gave me he gave me the same price every time. I paid nothing, it's not too much really. And I need to go at the 6 p.m. every day to collect. Then I did it several times. I have an archive of this production of the Cubans in the 90s using this protocol to register this information. At some point I understood that I was doing a double documentation. I was documenting these artifacts, at the same time I was documenting the practice of the photographer, popular photographer too. Then it's something that I was aware more and more and more, and tried to do more, to try to create the way to my process contaminate by this practice already. You know, for the popular culture, for the force, for the inventive, for creating new ways to approach to the materials. In this period I produced the book. This is the first one that I did with Penelope de Bossi. The book was made in 1999. We walk around all the country and we collect many artifacts, and we did a good documentation because Penelope found a way to have a good budget for slides, and we did a lot of photos for this project. And the second one is the book that I elaborate in connection with technological disobedience idea. And the second one is with Pentagram Design. They asked me to do something, and there is another. It's not the only books, but this is the mainly books dedicated to objects in this period. Then when I was looking the artifact, the object, at some point I want to understand what happened with these artifacts inside the house, how they was related between them. The object coming from Europe, the object coming from the religion. For example, we have in Cuba Afro-Cuban religion, and we have many artifacts, many elements that really give form to our space. And the socialist object, then I was looking how these artifacts are mixed between them in the house. And in this process, I found that really the house was the center of the conversation, because people was using the house to produce, and at the same time, because the family was growing in the last 60 years in Cuba, and there is not too much production of new houses. Then you have 4 generations of people living in the same space. And I start finding that there is maybe a new machine to make plastic injection, but this machine is inside a house that is divided 3 times. Then I start finding things all the time, and I write I decide to do research about the transformation of the house in this period, how people was adapting the house for this, and I found correspondence between the notion of the standard as a vector of ideas. These houses in Cuba are very common. This is this house, for example, is an example. This house originally don't have this. This division is made by the people in the 90s. It's a house we do have a big door and a big window. Inside there is nothing. It's a box, but you have several boxes like that in the street, maybe 7, and at the end there is a patio and with a bathroom common for everybody. Inside is a house from the 30s, 1930, during the economic crisis in the war. This is the house that 2 Catalan brothers start producing in Cuba everywhere. Then the facade was every time beautiful, totally new decoration every time. Every house have a different facade, but inside was very standard, a box with the common patio at the end and the bathroom. And it's the same. When somebody learn how to divide the house in the half, automatically the neighbor will ask, what you did? Where you found the material? When you found the permit? All this know-how is transmitted to one to the other one. And they can do it because the house has a specific condition. The house has every time 4 meters here to the top, 4 meters. It's a kind of Spanish, Arabic tradition to have this high point for the ventilation of the air. And this was good because you can divide the house into 2 parts. And this happens systematically everywhere, and people start doing that. Big battle start with architects because there was mad, because for them this transformation was killing the patrimonial of the house. And sometimes you see this kind of decision, this person just decide to move someplace out. They need to expand the house and they just put the columns. And if I go back there, I did this photo maybe in 2012, or I don't remember, I think 12. I'm totally sure now, if I go back, there is another apartment in the second floor and in the third, because people automatically, every position, every structure, they use it to make something else, you know. And people is waiting for the first one. It's like you want to have a wall or a mirror, and you are waiting the other, if people is paying first the wall, and you will use it for you too, in the other side. It's the same. Then you can see this axis everywhere. It's a new axis in Cuba, and people is talking about that, how the architects are suffering. They say, oh, these people are killing the beauty of Cuba and this, the architectural value of the city. And this conversation for me is very important too, because they have some kind of nostalgic approach to a house, to a kind of architecture that represents a past of the country, and in some ways not responding good to the needs of the people. But architects normally in Cuba are dedicated to conservation of the city. There is no way to produce new house, and they are working about conservation now for tourism or this kind of thing. And every time I had with them this conversation about the city need to respond to the real needs of the people today, I like to say that is a kind of, in Cuba, there is a kind of dust of ruins. The city is coming down to everywhere because the weather there is really aggressive, and the buildings are totally devoured by the salt of the ocean, of the Caribbean and the sea, and a lot of destruction is happening there. And the city in some way there is like a dust. You can see this dust, but this dust is a kind of image that everybody uses. People in Miami say Havana is ugly and destroyed because communism is a shit and is not helping and is destroying the city. The people the tourists are going there and love to see the city of them destroyed. You know, it's a kind of love with the ruins and the picturesque. You know, we have this kind of, me too, when I travel in other places, has a tourist and behave maybe in the same way. It's a very common vision from the tourism. For the Cuban government, it's like this is the old city. It's a bourgeois city that is destroyed. Then everybody have the same, having benefits of the same image. But I like to say that this dust of ruins is material. There is people accumulating everywhere things to make a new bathroom, to make a new terrace, a new balcony. Then the city, what somebody says is the representation of destruction, for other people is representation of the new solution for the life of them, of the new material to create something new. Then to have this conversation with them, to emulate, I decide to cut, for example, I cut 2 archives that I did with the slides, and I cut my slide in the half. I think an archive needs to be open for the reuse. need to be, this is what happened every time. Every generation is using the archive in different ways. Then I did it with totally decision here. I cut my slides into half and I changed the parts. I put the base of this slide with the top of the other part. I change every time to talk about the acceleration of the transformation in Cuba in this case. Then I'm trying to contaminate, as I said you before, my own display, my own production, in the same way that the cities, in this case, the cities is contaminated. Here was supposed to be the video, but maybe I can do it here. Then I create another small display too with this I print many photos, the facade, because I have a big compilation of facade, and just cut to create the new displays, and I put in some place, and people can produce every time a new transformation. You can see the connection between the elements. How to put in form design research for me is all the time is a main question. How we can do that? How we can really to don't do something illustrative, but something that people really can interact with the material and produce something else. I just made this and cut like I did before, maybe in Somali, he produced these beautiful toys for kids, and I did it for the Cuban architecture facade to produce this display. And I put this here. I will show you. I think I lost the thing.
It's with the edge.
Huh?
It's with the blue one.
This one?
No, there. Yeah.
Yes, you're right. And I put this has a display here. I use a Papanek table for made the project here in this case, and an accumulation of things, and people can take every panel and to connect with them and to produce another conversation about these artifacts. Then repair. I would try to move forward because I think we are tired today. But when I came back to Cuba in 2018. I found that because I left Cuba in 2007, I went to USA and I was there until 2012 without any opportunity to go back. In 2012, I have the opportunity to go back again. I did it, and I reconnect my research in this moment with the Cuban context. In the period of 5 years, I was only working about Miami, and there is a book that you can maybe find here in the Mediatek. It's Maison Moiré. And it's pointing to Miami practice of production. But when I came back to Cuba, automatically it was like a plug. I reconnect all my research again, and I was trying to go back 2 or 3 times per year until 2019, before the COVID. And now tomorrow I will go for my new passport, dreaming to go again in Paris. I need to collect my new passport to go back to Cuba again in the future. But when I came back in 2018, I found that all this knowledge of the 90s was put in the production of spare parts. Cuba was importing many blenders, washing machines, mocha pots, coffee machines, so many artifacts coming from Korea, Spain, very specific place, and really precise number of machines. But there is no importation of spare parts, only the machines. But if the machine is broken, fans too, you don't have the spare parts. And as I told you, if you have a Chinese fan in Cuba, will be dead in 2 days. 2 days. You put on, and because you never can put off, he will melt there. Then the first thing, decision of the Cuban is to remove the envelope. For example, this is the first thing that they are doing. You buy a new one and just remove that because you know that it will be very hot, and they need to do it. Then I start washing the spare parts that people was doing and collecting the spare parts. I collect a lot, 200 I have, different for different machines, and I start having conversation about that with mechanic people, with people doing interview. And but in Cuba, after many years, people repairing every day, nobody want to talk about repair. And it's bad, something is very bad. People there are linking repair process with poverty. And this is really bad too. For design history, for example, you have Ulm School, Google it, when he was designing radios with the students, in the accountability of the project, the cost of production, you include the spare parts, and you include the repair process. Everything was including these things, and repair was part of the use value of the object. At some point in the history of design, we separate that, And now repair look like extra activity, something that you are doing in Caribe or a place, or people of the Apple are doing that, very sophisticated in really boutique places and very expensive. But this was part of the logic of the process before. And for me, it's sad to go to Cuba dealing with people that know very well how to repair, but don't want to talk about that. Then I decided to do something crazy in this moment, because I like to put my mind all the time out of the limits of the conversation of design, and I started doing theater, and I started using puppets, very ugly puppets, you will see. And, but I found many things. I found, for example, that people start selling the spare parts in the street, but they put in the piece the name of the brand. Then if you go into the market, you can buy the piece because say, okay, Ditron Chica or Ditron Grande, big, a kind of didactic of the black market. People recognize, go to the market and they recognize the part that you need. Nobody, any industry are doing that. You go to Ditron shop, you never found the name of the brand in the piece because they need an specialist to help you to do that. In this case, people is doing that, going to the market and finding Philips, Ditron. You see Philips, they are writing Philips in the way that they like, with F, for example, no? But everybody recognizes this is Philips. In the other side, you can see Aurica, you can see the name, the brand of the object. It's a kind of transmission of the knowledge. And I found even that people produce sometimes transformation in the pieces that is working for two different machines. This piece is named coupling. It's a piece connecting the blades to the engine of the blender. Somebody decided to design one piece that is working in two different machines. And you can adapt this, you can use it for Ditron and you can use it for Philips or Hamilton. I think it was Hamilton. And these pieces you can use in both machines. This conversation between Hamilton and Ditron never will happen. You know, everybody wants to produce their own piece and to obligate you to buy for them the piece, the spare parts. These people found a way to establish this conversation. Then I created this project that I call Repair Has Rupture, and what I did was to produce 80 puppets, 80 puppets, hand puppets, and I put an spare parts in the hand of every puppet every time. Like that. I told you it was ugly. It's a kind of, now you see only a group of it, there are 80s. And my dream was I did it in Havana in 2018 when I came back. And I created this set. This is the scenario for the play. And I wrote something to act, but was more a kind of incitation to the conversation. And but my dream was all these spare parts floating in the space as another machine to talk about repair in this context. And I did it several times in Cuba, in New York, in Miami, and I tried with different ways every time. But for me, it's an archive. It's really an archive of spare parts, mediated by a puppet show. It's that. Then I create everything. I create the stage, different ways to interact with the public, because you can hide and you can use the puppet in this way. I wrote a lot. I produced some kind of a script to provoke the conversation. I designed the posters of the event. Then the idea to cross this research with the theater put me and create for me different typology of objects that I need to respond. Then I need to do the poster. What I did in this case, I did several, but this one is Ruptura in the top, and this the anagrams of Ruptura from the beginning until the end is the same word or different way to organize the letters, but this is the 600 times that you can do it. There is no more. This is the anagram of this word. Ruptura is the same in Spanish and French, I guess, and English too, no? Rupture, no? Yeah. I changed later, and I decided to cross two archives. This one is an archive of puppet made by people, and in this case I decide only one spare part is the rubber. This circle, black circle here, is I will show you, maybe this one is too much ugly. This is, you use that for the pressure cooker. In Cuba we like beans and haricots, and that we use this machine all the time and it's broken every time. Then I decide to, in this case, it's only an archive of the rubber joint. But in this case, I buy puppets made by people there and crossing two archives. In this case, it's two archives connecting together to talk about repair tour and to invite the people, because all these people doing this puppet are my friends or part of my family. It's a part of the community. Then the corrected share, I told you before about that in the 90s, but I did that I decided to don't do individual share. I want to do collective objects. It's the reason because I create couples or groups or cinema like this one to watch films or something to sit together. In this case, it was made by me, by institutions or people asking me. I did that for them or for exhibitions. In this case, and the bench. I told you about my bench. It was not this one. My bench was really a piece of wood with two chairs. But somebody asked me to have it, and I did it again for them in the other side. And this one is another version of the monoblock chairs. I did that in the 90s and the beginning of 2000 a lot, all the time. And what I learned some years later was that Cubans know the chair will be broken. Everybody knows that. Then people decide to correct the chair before the chair is broken. The cost of the chair in Cuba is $15. Today, the salary in Cuba is $6. Salary of the month. Can you imagine? In this period was $15. Then imagine you buying a chair. You are a student, but people working here know when you use all the salary to buy a furniture. How much you love this object, no? Then in Cuba, in this moment, there is no other way to buy chairs. There is no chairs. There is no market for that. And the cheaper one was this one, $15. And people are buying the chair and automatically in the house creating something to reinforce the chair, because we know the chair will be broken. I think the monoblock is a good example of how the history of design could be to the history of the sacrifice. We are sacrificing something every time. In the monoblock chair, we think that we are sacrificing the structure of the chair. Then we are doing something that is cheaper, is less material. Do we want the chair be stackable, possibility to be stackable, or we want to do something that we can take with the hands and you can produce a lot and the cost of production is really low. And for do that, you need to sacrifice something. And we are ready for that. Designers are ready to sacrifice something every time. And this case is the structure, but really what we are sacrificing is the planet, is the environment, is the many other things that we are doing in this case. Then I don't think that when we are doing correction of the chair, we are not doing a better chair. The monoblock maybe is better, don't exist. But I'm using the chair as a vector to talk with others about that, and I invite designers. I did it for the Biennale some years ago, and this one is in Cuba too. Different ways with metal piece, wire, rope, fabric, and I invite designers to correct the chair in different ways. Not to make the new chair, but to have using the four legs as a way to talk about these things, to talk about first, the chair can be a vector. If the chair is broken everywhere, this idea can go everywhere too. You know, to use the chair as a vector to transmit local knowledge, vernacular ideas and things. And the second one was made by David Denon, for example, the second chair. And this one we did it for the Biennale, because we need a place to be, for the Biennale of Saint-Étienne, we need a place to meet in, to talk, and to have many events, and we need chairs. Then we decide just to ask or look for chairs around in the city and in the market, and we produce, we invite from Emily Perrotot, for example, is a teacher in the school. She did that. This is Emily Perrotot idea. Jean-Sébastien Poncet, Oliver Pericot is over there. Oliver Lelouch here, but I invite the technician of the school. I don't want designers only. There is many people involved in the project, students, these technicians, artists, everybody was giving some kind of interaction with the object. Then I think this is the last section of the talk, and the 60% is a crazy idea. What happened? Before 2016 was impossible to put, if you have a car and the car crashed and is destroyed, if you want to rebuild the car there, you can change the form. You can change the color. It was illegal to change the color of the car and to change the elements. Then if you have a car that was crashed, you need to put it in the patio and don't pay attention anymore and just keep it there. People never put in the trash. People put in the patio or put in the backyard in some place. In 2016, Raúl Castro have the idea to permit the people that have this car destroyed to put again in circulation. And he said that the regulation was, if you keep until the 60% of the original form of the car, the 60%, you can put the car, you can transform the 40. The 60 need to be perfect. You can put the car again in the street. You can inscribe. This is totally absurd, because there is no way that you can limit what is the 60% of the car. It could be a molecular conversation. You know, what is the 60% of the car? Then, for example, the first one there is a Peugeot designed by Pininfarina. And it's an Argentinian Peugeot that was sent to Cuba. And of course, this is very far from the original car. It's totally inflamed. The windows are yellow. It's not a Peugeot. It's a 60%. Then I say, okay, maybe we can give to Raúl Castro, we accept that it's possible to have the 60%. I'm in total love with the 40%. What is the possibility to do what you can do with the 40%? All these cars are totally part of this system, and when you stop people in the street about that, they will tell you that, yeah, it's a 60%. They call this car 60% cars. This regulation became very old, and the question was all the time, you have a new aerodynamic. I extrapolate this conversation to the legal process, you know. It's a kind of new aerodynamic of the law, of the traffic law. And yes, every time in Cuba is happening something. You go and you found something that is people is doing something else to confront the things. Okay, this is Rick and Billy. I talk about Rick and Billy. Rick and Billy in the last year became really crazy because the government allowed to the people 1 year ago to produce homologation of the vehicle. If you can prove that this car has condition to circulate in the public space, they will give you a kind of license. In a period of 1 year, people invent more Rick and Billy than in the history before, just because the possibility to have that. And they start with bikes. The original Rick and Billy is this one, and this one is very interesting because it's kind of didactic. You can recognize the part. It's like an object designed to teach how the Rick and Billy is working. It's a kind of object because the blue screen. A lot of solutions. Then people start going far, and they start creating cars totally with this possibility. And the government start giving license to some of them in some way, and the last year they stop again. And many people was really mad, and they start protesting online. This is the Rick and Billy that people start elaborating, but this could be a lava, because another system to selling things online appeared in Cuba at the end in the last years, and now you can sell something using internet. We call Rebolico. It's like a Le Bon Coin, but in Cuba. And now, before when you go to Cuba and you see the Chevrolet, the old Chevrolet, you think that the car is perfect condition, in mint condition, no? Because out, they was obligated to have a Chevrolet appearance. Need to look perfect like a Chevrolet 56, no? But we suspect that inside something was different, because there's no way that you can keep the perfect condition inside, but you don't see it, never. Because Rebolico, people start trading and selling Chevrolet, Dodge, different cars. They are obligated to describe the car. And the description of the car are fantastic, because now you know they say Chevrolet 57, but the engine is Lada, Russian car, and the transmission is Moscovich or Toshiba, or Japan is could be you will see Mitsubishi could be. Then this appear every time. Then this car look like a Rick and Billy, and they say this is a Rick and Billy. The government called that VAP. VAP is vehicles made by parts, assembled by parts, by piece of parts. And this is what the government used, and the government is accepting now the word rickinbilly. Inside the regulation, you can find now the word rickinbilly to talk about this object. Then people invent the name, and now the government is obligated to use the word in some way. You can see many, the same problem of before. Okay. Then there is a new movement in the last year that they call Movimiento Social Los Sin Chapas. Social movement, people without plates. How you say the plate of the car in French? Pardon? The plaque, okay. It's like a social movement, people without plaque. And they start talking together online to confront the government, and they won the battle. Now there is a new opening to make homologation, and people are doing that. And this is Rebolico, and you can see the description of the people. Then it's selling a Willy 54, Balada, Moscovi, Peugeot, Fiat 125. You see in yellow every time what happened inside. This is I'm collecting in Rebolico this description of the cars. I'm putting together many of them. Then, some years ago, I started finding a word that I don't recognize. Claria is the word in pink. Claria is an animal in Cuba. It's a fish that was imported it's a hybrid fish. It's an African catfish with a Japanese catfish. Fidel wants to develop a new animal to feed the population. And this is a big fish. The name is Claria. Claria means in Greek something that never will die. It's something that is alive forever. And really, the Claria is a fish, like many catfish, can go out of the water, can walk, can take a chicken or a rat, and after a hurricane, the limits of this place, of the place when the farm, when they have the Clarias, the limits was broken, and the animal escaped. And now it's a big problem for the ecological perspective in Cuba, because this animal is eating everything. Everything, every fish. The Cuba is an island, and the island has really fragile ecosystem. Then the animal that we have there, many ones, you never will find it even in Dominican Republic. It's only there. It's only in Cuba. And this animal is eating everything. And it's growing. It was supposed to be a fish like that, but you can find a big catfish like have 2 meters. It's a monster. It's everywhere. Then for me it was a surprise to find in the description of the car the Claria word. So what is the Claria? What is Claria? Everywhere I look in the description, you find Claria everywhere. Claria, the Cubans are calling Claria to a Chinese car that started coming to Cuba in the last years. It's the face of the car. People say sometimes that the car has face, looks like the Claria face. And it's the reason because people call the Gran Muralla is the name of the car or the brand. They call Claria these things. But you can see how this element, I like to talk about contamination in this case, how this object that arrived to Cuba recently, the Chinese car, is already inside the system of the cars. Now you can see how this is happening again. And I just found that because I was doing the research in Rebolico. Then that's it, this is the finish. We can interact now if you want and have a conversation. You are not too tired. Thank you. Question? Somebody have question or want to say something, or feel free, please. If no, it's okay too. You can send me the question after if you want.
I think Cuban people give us a big lesson for us.
You need to have the microphone, I think, to speak.
So I just have to say that Cuban people give us a big lesson of life and of adaptation in regard of our situation here. Here we are really lucky to have so many things around us, and maybe we can think about how to be less consumerist and maybe more delicate with things we have to share together.
Yeah, thank you. Probably, if Cuba have the opportunity, they will be consuming. Anyway, they will do it. It's a big problem. It's the reason because I think it's important to talk about. I don't have any romantic approach to this production. It's for me, I'm really, and I say all the time that the poverty is no solution. The solution is people finding solution for the need that they have. For me, this is something that I will defend everywhere, but not the condition, because people are doing that because really they need. Of course, as a designer and as a Cuban, I learned a lot in this moment. You know, I was learning. I'm still learning a lot with these things with everybody, with my brother, my father. I have many memoirs of things happening, people creating things to confront our needs in the life. You know, something that you can extrapolate is that we are confronting needs here too. When you go to when it's cold out, you need to decide something about what you put in your as a shoes and your feet, how you are, which kind of clothes that you are using. Then we are taking decision every time, and every time you can to confront the needs in some way to be more less supporting trendy or this kind of thing. You are what you need, buy what you need. It's difficult when you are growing kids, for example. No, sometimes my kids asking me for something to buy that everybody is using in this moment. Then I don't want to say to you, no, you need to use only an object of necessity. And even because sometimes I'm not doing that for me too. Then it's just to be sincere and to think that necessity and people in need are here too, not only in Cuba. You are having need here too, and there is a lot of people in needs here too. And a way to confront the needs, they need to be, there is a stigma about needs. I'm totally convinced that there is a stigma in our society about needs. And people in need, people think that it's weak people. And if they talk and they ask you for something, you think that they are vulgar, because they are putting in public space something that belongs to them as a need, and you think that they are attacking you with these needs in some way, you know. And it's not something that I invented. You go back in the history of Spain, for example, Góngora, I'm talking about 1601, I don't know how to say that in English even, it's 1601. This year, he wrote a poem that he called Dineros es calidad, money is quality. This is the poem, I'm talking about 1601. And he said, I will say first in Spanish to keep it. No hay persona que hablar deje al necesitado en plaza. Todo el mundo le es mordaza, aunque él por señas se queje, que tiene cara de hereje y aún fe la necesidad. It's something like nobody allowed to the people in need to talk in public space. Everybody will try to be mordaza. I don't know how to say mordaza in French, but everybody will try to. Yeah, everybody will try to don't allow to them to speak. But and these people, they at the end he say they have a face of heretic, but they are full of faith. They are really believers. They look heretics, but they are believers because they are thinking that they will really surpass the needs. You know, they will do something else. You know, then this is in our culture we have this perception of the people in need is weak and vulgar if they talk too much and they try to confront you. And this is something that we need to relax with that. You know, in some way we need to understand that to be in need is a human, could be a human condition, and if you are and it's a little bit hypocritical, hypocrisy, because we are here and we have all these things because somebody was confronting needs. We was really understanding what we need and creating solution for that, idea for that or confronting the needs. Then it's yes, but of course in Cuba we have this and when I was doing my research, for example, if I try to do a photo sometimes to an artifact, it was very common in the 90s mainly that people say, why you are doing the photo? Why? It's an ugly photo. Then I need to learn how to talk with them because at the beginning I don't have the resource to do it, the intellectual elements to do it. And I start talking about in Cuba you can say about invento, we call that invento. And it's a very common word that we used to talk about, oh, this guy is inventing or this person is inventing something. But it's no invention in the way that we understand invention around the world. In Cuba, invention could be everything. To be inventing is to be thinking about sitting here. You can be sit and you can say, I'm inventing something because I'm waiting the way to find money I'm watching some two person there and I just creating a plan to do something to have the money. Then we use the word invention to everything in our real life. And when you talk about invention with Cubans, automatically there is a switch. They was a little bit shame about the fun of the object because it was ugly or don't finish. And they said, no, but it's provisional, it's provisoire. I will have a new good one in some point. When you talk about creativity or about invention, they will feel very proud. And automatically they call me, come with me. And I went inside the house and I found a big, this happened many times. I found something out in the portal and when I interact, they ask, when I do I establish the conversation, they invite me to see something else inside. And they are very proud about creativity. Everybody is proud about that. At the beginning, they don't want to show the artifacts, but when you talk about that, they say yes, because this is what they are doing. Sorry, I respond too long, then maybe nobody want to do another question, sorry. No? Right. There is somebody there. There too.
Thank you for your speaking. What is the actual situation now in Cuba, like politically, economically?
Today?
Today, yeah.
It's really bad. There is 2 days ago a big manifestation in Santiago de Cuba. There is a big problem of food. There is no food. I have my family is there. I send them money sometimes, and they don't have nothing to buy. There is nothing to buy. There is no food. And 2 days ago, you can put online now. It's everywhere. This information is maybe not in France, but you put in Google Cuba protest, and you will find what happened yesterday and 2 days ago. Is normally this never happened. In 2021, people went to the street to protest, and they put a lot of people in prison. More than 1,000 people was in prison just to protest, just because they protest. Then people decide don't protest too much. And 2 days ago, imagine that you can be 15 years in prison because you went to the street with a sign. 15 years. Then people is avoiding to go out. But people need the food. And 2 days ago was a social explosion and people is on the street now. And what happened, there is no production of any food there. Nothing. And the government is all the time talking about Americans and the American embargo, all these things that exist. The American embargo exists. But Cubans are eating chicken and eggs coming from USA. The only provider of food now to Cuba is America, because the American farmers are selling eggs and chicken to Cuba for Bush's son, George Bush's son, established this business. He was a Republican, but he was not able to control the American farmers that want to sell. They have a big lobby in the American government, and they are sending to Cuba chicken. But it's bad because they are sending to Cuba chicken that nobody want to buy in USA because have many hormones. But Cuba don't have any control of that. You are receiving a chicken and you don't know what happened inside the chicken. We know that when you are going out. And yeah, it's really complicated, but now we don't have even this. You don't have money, you don't pay, you don't have nobody sending you anything else. And there is no food, but it's a really productive land. The land is really productive, really rich, but there is many regulation, many restriction to the people to produce things. You know, it's no now. It's when you ask me maybe 1 week ago, I say, okay, the condition is bad. My sister is sending me messages all the time and describing me a little bit what happened. But 2 days ago was a big protest, and it's still happening. There is a big protest of the Cubans. Yeah. And the artifacts, of course, the Crickingbilly are circulating everywhere, and this production is now really active in Cuba.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know how to ask my question, but I recently got interested in new ways of living life, like movements that tend to stop any kind of production except things that need to be produced all the time, like fresh food. So even essentials stop being produced. It's like kind of a really, really strict way of thinking. But I think maybe it's like the only solution to a problem that's already unsolvable. And I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. Okay.
But the question is?
I don't know. Do you think about your way of consuming like this, about ways to stop producing at all?
Yeah, I for example, I understood. I understand. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
During it's perfect. It's fine. Good. Thank you. And the beginning of COVID, that everybody was confronting this here, everywhere. People was confronting the COVID, and our life changed totally. And people was inside the house, and came out a manifesto from Latour about stopping production. No, this was something that came out, and I really like Latour, but I think this was a strange conversation in this moment, because he was asking for people to stop production, but he have maybe wine, keep it in the house, and he have food, and he have everything that you can. In the same moment, we collect this information for Latour, a black guy in USA. I know that because we was doing research about how people was confronting the crisis of the COVID, and we did an azimuth dedicated to that. And we was collecting online in Twitter, everywhere in Facebook, what people was talking between them. And a guy said there, I can't stop because every day I work to eat. I need to work every day. My son, for example, the older, he was living in Miami in this period, and he lost his job. And for him, it was really complicated because he don't want to have money from the government. He was really, but he lost his job in this moment. And he was working in different works, doing many things in the city, finding money for the day, to buy the food for him and for the day. Then how we can do that? When Latour say that, automatically for me say, okay, this is a good idea, maybe. He proved many things. He talked about the tulipans, production in the test, he used this image. I say, okay, you are doing that, you are sacrificing somebody. It could be a radical decision, but the person that will be sacrificing is the same person they sacrifice every time, the poor people. How these people will survive during this period, Then, I don't know if the stop of production, I think it's about responsibility, about implication. Designers have a lot of possibility in this conversation. what we can do today without, every time, this is the reason because I say there is no design and design research. There is only one practice, is design, and need to be based on research. There is no more way that you design something and you put in production without understanding the implication of this object in society. This is our role. We need to understand what happened. You design just because you want to do a new share, you will be contributing to that. Then it's more about step by step, by responsibility to understand the implication of your action. The first image that I put with David Graeber was about that. You need to research about the implication of the action to design. And, but I don't have any solution. I have, is it up? Ah, it's my ear then, sorry. Yeah, I need water maybe. Yes, no answer for that. But it's a good question. There is people talking about the croissant, no? How you call it? It's a new conversation today, no? Yeah?
I think there is a misunderstanding. Well, it's not, no es tanto la décroissance que la posibilidad
Yeah.
de las cosas.
Yeah. No, this was internal conversation in Spanish.
Sí, ya lo, not just, I think there is a misunderstanding between décroissance and the possibility of Cuba. Yeah. And it's a very, very hot moment. And as you say, it's romantic regards about that. I think it's important to precise that.
Yeah, thank you. We finish or we have something else? Yes.
When you present your work, the research and archives, it makes me think, oh wow, I want to live in a communist country.
Like you want or no?
Pardon?
Like you want or no?
It makes me want to live in a place where everyone's repairing things like it was the case in Cuba, and then that's the more romantic side of it, and then you talk about the actual situation and conditions of living there, and you think how can we find a balance where we repair lots of things and are very creative and are proud to repair things, and also have a quality of life where we can eat. And I don't know, maybe you have some ideas of a balance between a Cuban lifestyle or politics and politics like in France where we can still eat quite comfortably. Is there something in between you have in mind, or I don't know?
No.
No.
No, what I try all the time to connect this conversation of Cuba production to the history of design in Europe, for example. When Google designed the radios, inside the radio you can see a manual to explain you how to repair the object. Then this happened before. Design have this conversation incorporated before. At some point we forgot that. This was part of the process. At some point we forgot. Why? Because it's better that ask you to buy a new one. Yeah. Then as a designer, how you can improve that is your responsibility. Yeah. If you're going to work in some place or you will be working for yourself, you need to have this question every time in your mind and to how can I do something that is responsible, really. It's more about, then Cuba is teaching that, this is what I learned there. I learned that, and I learned, because I know the history of design, in this moment, I made these connections between them because I was doing research about the history of design too. Then I have the possibility to make this conversation. But I learned that. I learned, for example, that I'm really austere, but my father was very austere. Austere?
Austere.
Austere. And I grow in this condition. And I have 5 brothers, and that is one of them is the same, almost the same age than me, so 1 year different. And the same size, the same, almost, we are not twins, but I was growing with him like a twins. My mom gave me the same clothes. Then we was using wearing the same clothes because for my mom was easy to buy two of these Then I was growing in this context. I wasn't really needing too much, and this was, my life is like that today. I don't need too much and I try to have the same sign forever. I don't try to put in the trash. I have clothes that I have for many years that I had in Miami, for example. I keep in here still. Then I have this. I don't doing that like I'm not a priest, a monk, no. I'm doing that because it's inside my own way to do. Maybe when I need to eat, I'm eating too much. Maybe I'm a big consumer of cheese in France, for example. Then I'm not all the time like perfect in that, you know. But I try to be aware about the decision that I'm taking every time, every day. And society like Cuba I don't know how to talk about that. Cuba for me is a big failing. My father was a communist that died in 2012, feeling that the revolution was a traición for him. He was in love with this possibility. He fought all his life for this possibility, but he was the people like him in the power was living like high bourgeois people. A lot of possibility, money, traveling, having money a lot, and people was living bad, but people there controlling the country was living in good condition. And my father saw that, and he was a poor guy before the revolution, in love with the possibility to build a new society. He was dreaming this possibility, and he died confronting corruption, confronting. Then I don't have any romantic approach to that. I don't know. I think we can build. There is a lot of societies that maybe we are not putting inside our mind, creating practice that is good for everybody or for them. Like Indonesia, Documenta proved that with the Lumbung logic, for example. And you go to Documenta, to Indonesia, you can find people having common practice of the working together, producing something together, sharing resources. Already we have that in Africa, in Latin America. There is a lot of practice, roots in the history of the place, roots in the society, roots in the traditions. That is good to learn from that. We had here that. In Europe, you have it before. We forgot. I was telling somebody today that we use all the chairs all the time. But in Europe, before, you have a kind of furniture, big, was no a bed, no a bench because it was too wide, was no a bed because it was too hard, and was no a table because it was too low. And the Indonesian people call bale, but in Turkish they call divan. And it's an object that you can find in Indonesia out of the house, to sit together, to drink together coffee, to smoke together, to educate the kids of the neighbors or your kids. You know, there is some kind of object that already giving this kind of conversation between the peoples. And when you go to the old paintings of the La Última Cena, I don't know how to say that in French, the Last Supper, yeah, Jesus was laid down. He was not sitting in the chair. He was really laid down with other people eating together, like everybody's doing around the world, really without a chair. The chair became a figure connected with power, with a moment, you know. Then this is not something that is far. This was here inside this culture before. All this conversation. Then sometimes it's not just to look in the future what happened. It's something that we have already here. What you have already here. We'll need to learn from others, pay attention what happened in other contexts. But I don't have any answer. I think design research is the practice to produce questions. The right questions, no answers.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
But you were saying that in Europe it's forgotten knowledge to repair things, but it's probably also a commercial decision to make things that are not easy to repair, as you were talking about, because every brand is in their interest for something to break, to buy a new one. So that's also within a system. So it's not just individual decision, it's also the decision of a whole, it's the way a system works, and in this case a capitalistic system.
Yeah, of course. But what you want, a revolution?
Yeah?
Could be, I don't know. I have students that are very radical, and I say to them, is you are in Cuba, you will put me in prison because the thing that I'm telling you. You know, you can be, I think we need to learn to listen to others. We need to see of course, there is we are mad. In Cuba, people say we need the revolution there to change everything that happened there. And this will be the way. The only way that is people leaving the power is something by this kind of people taking the street. This is the only way. And the revolution is I talk about that with Perico sometimes about the revolution and to be radical or to be revolutionary. You can be both things, but to be radical is necessary. It's something important. You need to rethink from the beginning the position. Radical is not to be just a person doing graffiti here in the theater and to destroy this place. Radical means to understand something from the origin. What is the starting point of that? No, radical is roots. Then from the starting point, we need to be radicals all the time. Design need to be radical. The revolution is one solution. Could be one solution. There is many others, you know, but because people sometimes say, no, we need to be revolutionary. Okay, revolution for me is one solution. We need to be radicals and to understand where we are now and what we need now, and to find something to resolve our problem together. But maybe, I don't know. I don't want to be an incitator of the revolution in any place, because this is a very, yes, it's your role, it's your activity.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Them. Finish? Do you have more questions? Or? Merci. Merci beaucoup.